start from the beginning. Again, the beginning is not mamish the ikr nekudas Mamer. Basi lagan echesikala. Varba leilula. I said Mamer and Medrash. The Medrash is Lagani and the Gnuni. That means that Basi Lagani is going on Shas Matan Torah or Shas B'nei Mishkan. So the pasuk uses a mashal that the date, the ov, comes to the kala, and the lashon that he uses is that the world was Lagani. Lagani means Lugnuni. This was his pleasurable place. The makom shayi ikri betchila. The makom that was where the ikr shchina, the ikr lakus was betchila sabriya. The ikr shchina betachtain ames. B'shas sabriya, betchila sabriya, the ikr shchina was dafke in tachtain. The Chataim Silkas Shchina Matil Maila. That was the Davarnes. The Chataim there was a Silka Shchina. But in Tzadatzme, the way the world was originally created before Masa Adam got involved, so the Ikar Shchina was Dafka with Achtein. Achagach Om Deshim Tzadikim and Shos Shchina Maila Mata Ad Meish Rabbeinu. Rei Nemes Shekol Yisrael Shu Hashvi V'chol Hashvin Chavivin Shehim Shechsa Shchina Merikia Alef La'aretz. This is not just another stage in the Shos Shchina Lamata Rabbeinu. One stage and Yitzchak another stage. But this shlav of Amshas Shechina Lamata Ba'aretz, that's the tachlis Einyan. She did really Zerach Tachtain. That's the tachlis. That's the matar of everything. Is in order for it to be the dirli is better Tachtain Tafke. So that's the best way to ugetan. Akdeshi Yin Zeh Yeh Bekvius. The day that it should be B'Davash B'Efen Shal Kvius. This Einyan. In the Miyad La'acham Shos Shechina Mekei Alef La'aretz, which that happened in Matan Torah. There's really 2 days in Medrash. This pasuk Basi Lagana Chesikala, if it's referring to Matan Torah or it's referring to within a Mishkan. So here the Rebbe is Mevayer according to the shitta that is going a bit in Matan Torah. So the Basi Lagana Chesikala, that's which has Matan Torah, is Amshad Shechina Maila Mata, that was the Mata Ba'aretz. It's a bit like Zera. But in order for this, the Indian should be B'Kviyah, so that's Nemer Atziv, that's the mitzvah Shechanta. That's the mitzvah of being in a Mishkan. In order for this Hamshacha, B'Lakus Lamata Ba'aretz should be in a Eifin, that should be B'Kviyah. Different is Beidim, what's the, but different quality what the Rebbe is saying here is that should be not just a Matan Torah was a one-time thing, but it was given this Naskayach, that a Yitr who's Aveda should be able to make that the Kviyas, that a Lakush should be in Tachtain and Be'efin Shal Kviyas. Yeah, it's not just a difference if it was a temporary thing or it's a permanent thing, but it's Neveh also from the Eifin Inyan. The way it was in Matan Torah was in Lamaylam, shaken through Aveda to be in a Mishkan. So since it's through the Aveda Samata, so the Mata becomes a Keli to Ramshach. So therefore it's B'Kviyas. The reason Matan Torah wasn't B'Kviyas because the fact that it was the Amshach Shechina Lamata Ba'aretz was because it was in Lamaylam. Because the Eibush there is not that the world with Tzadatzim was a Keli to the Amshach Zelikus. It was in Lamaylam. It was Amshach Zelikus Ma'ay Lamata. The uftu of through the Aveda V'Yitru Bin in a Mishkan, so that we make the Mata Keli Telikus. Yes, that's Shvivik. When the Mata is also going to, the Tachtan is going to be the Keli to the Amshach Lamayla, then it's going to be B'Kviyas, the Gidel Likus Lamata. So that's with B'Kviyas, that was the Tziva, wasn't in Shchant B'Secha. In a Mishkan, the Mikdash Ikri Mishkan, Mishkan Ikri Mikdash. So when they get to the Mishkan and the Mikdash are connected, so all the Inyanim which exist in the Mishkan also apply to the Mitzvah in the Mikdash, which is, so it applies to Aveda also today. So when you get to the Mishkan, the Lashon HaPasuk is, when you get to the Binyan HaMishkan, we should build the Mishkan with Krashim, and to make them Atzah Shittim Eim. Mevayer Baruch, I think it was Mevayer Baruch and the Mamer, that Esi is Keresh, made them Aleifin Aveda. That you mahapach from the Sheker of Welt, to make them into a Keresh. And his Meirich over there by Riches was this hapchus of making from Sheker to Keresh. I don't know if you remember from a couple of years ago. You think? There's the Asis of there's the she's Mevayer when you get to the Asis. What's the Asis of Kuf and Reish and Shin? Good. And then the Tachas Aveda is Shiyu Atzeh Shittim. Atzeh Shittim means Shtus the Kedusha. That the Lamhaz should be an Eifen, that the Aveda is a Shvin Eifen of Atzeh Shittim, Shtus the Kedusha, was Lamad Metam Bedas. The Eifen Aveda has to be an Eifen of Shtus the Kedusha, higher than Seichel Betavavana. The Eifen of higher, the Aveda Shemali Metam Bedas. Shadezim Mesakim is a Shtus the Lumaze. I'm another every Aveda, I'm getting this very well Shtus. By the Zeh, through the Aveda of Keresh, the Mahapach the Sheker of the Lamhaz to Keresh, and the Aveda of Shtus the Kedusha is Lamad Metam Bedas, which is Mahapach the Shtus the Lumaze, Peltman, Hakavana Lias Dira Leis Verba Techtein. That's one part of the Mamer. So we have so far 2 parts of the Mamer that feed the Rebbe. The one part, the first part is when they get to the Etzem Inyan of the the Tachlis Abriya that this Hakadosh Baruch Hu listed to the B'Tachtenim, and that's why the Ikar Shechina L'Chatchila was B'Tachtenim, and the Aveda of Tzadikim is Mamshech Shechina L'Mata Ba'aretz Dafke. And then there is the second thing is in order for the be Be'efin Shel Kviyas, the Aveda, in order to be Mamshech, what's for a start Aveda Manseh, what type of Aveda is needed? An Aveda of being Mahapach, that's Merumas in the Mishkan, Aveda of making the Sheker into Keresh, the Aveda of Shtus Dul Umaz, a person of Shtus L'Kedusha, a person, in order to affect this in the Mamshech Shechina L'Mata, so it's Mansech and Aveda, which is Naifin of the Malim Etam V'das, and through that you Mahapach Shtus Dul Umaz, so that's what is Mavard in these. Then he's mamshech another prat. That's we spoke about the Aveda which is needed, the Aveda of Shtus Luma, of Shtus Kedusha. And then there is who has to do this Aveda. So there's the Tachlis Aveda is to make Dirli Zar V'Tachtein, and that's the first part. Then there's the Guf Aveda itself, not the Matar, not the objective of the Aveda, the work itself. That is Lafich Shtus Luma, the Nefin of Shtus Kedusha, Malam Etam B'das. Then you have the third Indian, who are the people that's supposed to do the Aveda. So that's what it says here. Aveda Zu Nasa de Bnei Yisrael. That's the next chelik of the Hemshech Toshin Yud. That Aveda Zu is done through Yidden Dafka. Kabur become a Kemish. Dafka de Bnei Yisrael. Pel Mater is Pulas. A guy is going to put on tefillin. You won't be Mamshech any Hamshach. It won't be Pel anything. Dafka Yid. And it's but the Mamer that's why Yilchin Yikram Bnei Yisrael b'Shem Tzivas Hashem. And he explains there that also use the Lashon Tzivas Hashem is also Meira on what type in Vasfara Eif and Aveda Dafka Tomber. The fact that Yidden are called Tzivas Hashem is connected not only to the Zman of B'Tzias Mitzrayim, but it's connected to the fact that Yidden are the ones that do the Aveda b'Mamshech the Shechina L'Mata Ba'aretz. Tzivas Hashem is meretting in them inyan. When you get to the Aveda b'Mamshech the Shechina L'Mata Ba'aretz, like Abedem inyan, Yidden are called Tzivas Hashem. What's the Pshat Tzivas Hashem? Lashon Tzava. So there's three Perushim in Tzava. Tzava and Lashon Anshechayil. I think the Rebbe said in the Mamer of last year, but the guy in the beginning of the Mamer, the Rebbe says that that's the main Pshat. The main Pirush as Negel Aveda when you get the Pirush. Three Pirushim of Tzava is Lashon of Chayil. Sheisraelim Anshe Chayil Hamalim and Mashlimim is Susenish Lakadish Baruch Shel Melech Macham Lakadish Baruch. That's the Aveda of a Kabbalah Sel, and Aveda of a soldier. That his whole Indian is he mashlim the Rasan of the Melech. The Chayil doesn't have his own Mitzias. He doesn't have his own. His whole Mitzias is to be mashlim the Rasan of the Melech. So that's the first pshat of Tzavim Lashon Chayil. There's Mekabel El Mach Shamayim, and his whole Indian is Lamalis Ratzon HaMelech. Then there is Tzavim Lashon Zman Mukbal. That's the word. Where do you see that Tzava means Hakbala? It's a limit, a certain amount of time that a person has in this world. So Tzava is an Indian of limitation, of Hakbala, of a set time that a person has. Was weiß das? In some Meir al-Eifen Aved, Shkemat Yemitzah, so even Shal Slapshus, Hakbala says man and Makom Lamata, since the Kavanah is to make it literally, it's better B'Tachtenim. So the Aveda is not a Tnua of just, he said before, a Tnua of Shtus L'Kedusha Shel Mailim Mitam B'das, or a Tnua of Kabbalah Sel, which is not Hederais Yashvas. It has to be an that it's the Aveda has to be in this Yashvas, and Kima Terenis has to be Dafkin Zman Makim, because the Kavanah is to bring a Lukus Lamata B'Aretz. Then there's the third Indian that he speaks about, V'Tzava, also Lashon Tzivin V'Yofi. She'inin ha'yofi ba the eskalus shakama gavnim. So that's the Pshat Tzivas Hashem, that by Yidden there has to be the eskalus of different types, different kavi aveda. V'zeh Aveda B'nei Yisrael nasa the eskalusim yachad. A Yid can't do his aveda in order to fulfill the aveda of making a dirah b'tachtenim. It's not genug kabbalas al shamayim. It's not genug to have the aveda in even of its yashvus. But there has to be a eskalus that of Achdas Yisrael to do it. A Yid shouldn't do his aveda b'fnei atzmei. Even though he's only matgish his own individual mitzias. Even of eskalus. Because that's the third type of tzava, Lashon Yofi, which Yofi comes dafka when you have a ribi eskalus. By Dezeh, through the Aveda, even Nishlama Ini, the Asam Mensch Chanta B'Seichem, B'chol Prat Avedic, Fish and Asim, said B'nei Yisrael Lamata. The Prat Aveda and the way dafka Yidden, and the mode, the way Yidden do it. Yeah. So that's, B'Efin Klali, the first two Maimarim, the Hemshech Tavshin Yud. This is till Perek Yud, till Sief Yud. It's the Achash Mepali, L'Um Sayim, B'Chesum, Tezam Mar Marisheni, B'Nin Anal, which that's the first Temprak of the Hemshech. Meisi by Hemshech Lavayr as a kechesh and Nesne Mamayla the Lamali Lahashav. The Fidik starts a new Indian, and this goes and for Meshach Zman in the Hemshech Kemat till the end of the Hemshech. So he goes into a whole new Indian till now. We speak when you get to the what's the Matara the Aveda last days were the Tachtenim. What's the Aveda itself? You have the Aveda of Mishkan, of Keresh, of Sheker, of Shtus L'Kedusha. You have the and after through a Yid, Yid and even of the three none that has to be by Yid. In of Kabbalah Sel, Chayil, in of the Yashas Zvanamokim, from Perek Yud, he starts speaking about the keches which are given Maila to fulfill this kavanah of Lashas Leis Barat Derutachtenim. Meisi behemshech levar sakeresh nesim Malik the Malik lahashlam avedazu. This Indian is Arichas Deilamei. So the Rebbe says that in Sief Yud Aleph he gives Akdama Klovos. We're holding still in the Hakdama the Mamer. So Umakdim leZakdama Klal is Sifir Aleph. So last this Hakdama Klal is to the whole Hemshech what he's going to speak. So in other words, from the third Mamer, so he started to speak a new Indian. Then he get to the Kecha Shemal Maila, which is being given for this Aveda, and he gives us a general Hakdama in Sifir Aleph. What's the Hakdama? Move on. That he gives Hakdama like this. This is last year's Perek, or just he brings like this. Inyan Atzava Kosher Mulcham. Tzav has to do with war. Tzav has to do with war. You could have a soldier could have many tefkidim. I said before, a soldier in Yoni is Lemalis Ratzna Melech. Ratzna Melech could be to be a guard somewhere, not necessarily war. But in general, the musik of Tzava has another. It's connected to war. Where do you see that Tzava is connected to war? So the Rebbe brings from Sief Medrash, when you get the Shem Tzva Islam, the Medrash statement to get to the calling the Eibishter the Shem Tzvagis. So and the Shem Tzvagis Lamal has to do with the Aveda of Tzava Lamata. The fact that the Yidden through their Aveda of Tzava are mamsha the Indian that the Eibishter should be a Shem Tzva. So state before the Shem Medrash. When is the Eibishter called Tzva? It's Kshan Yesem Melchama Beresham and Nikra Tzvais. The Medrash have the Maisa and Nikra. That the Eibishter Mitzad Atzmi has no names. He's called. He gets a name according to what he's involved in. So the Medrash over there says the Bashas the Eibishter gets involved with war. Lilchem Mershah, and then he's called Tzava. See that Tzava is not just Chayil, not just a soldier like they ever said before, but Tzava has to do with war. And now, Heinisch Klaus of this Minister by Nagos and Ba'ilam, durch in die Welt, Apia Teru Mitzvah V'lifel Shalom Yisrael B'Terim Mitzvah, V'Yem Shalom It's a war, there's a war. It means there's a menagit. There's a opposition, a strong opposition, and a person has to battle through his way. It's not like, in other words, they were saying till now, you're saying, have Kabbalah say you're a Chai, have Kabbalah say Ma'am Shamayim, and you have your do Hashtuzak Dush, and all get good. We gave you a whole system how to do it. Mishkan, Karashim, it's a gate, it's nicht das. There's a Melchama, there's a big battle. There's opposition, there's nigudim, and the person has to battle his way. Oh. Now, what do we want to bring out? I was going to giving again a shtick. This from last year, but so it says over there, the person, everything in Hanhag and Welt is connected to war. Things don't go easy. There's Yisyenis, and there's Shverigkeit, and there's a Melcham. Oh. Now he explained that there's two types of Melchamas. There's all Akdama to explain what Farah Keiches does the Eibishter give Yidden in order for a Yid to go through to do this Aveda last in the Taftainen. It's a war. Now, what do we come to say that it's a war? Every person knows that he has his battles. But we want to say it's Akdama to explain what type of Keiches the Mamayla are given to succeed in this war. That's all explained in Perikid Aleph. The Akdama to what's going to be in the next Perikid. It says like this. Melchama, you have two ifanim. There's one ifan Melchama is lishla shalav lovas buzz. You have one reason why a king goes to war is in order to. There's a real reason for it. He wants to be marchiv his kingdom. He will wachsen. Wie wachster? He's leichem in another country and his power. So that's Melchama that's totally in Tavadas. There's a reason why he's going to war, and the king is only gonna put at risk if there's going to be if Apicheshbon is going to get a massive gain by this war, he's going to, according to how much the war is going to get, is going to bring him, according to the benefit, according to that, he's mashkia in the war. There's a cheshbon. It's based on a cheshbon d'kedusha. You remember this from last year? Remember this? Then that's number one. Then this type of war, that when it's lish l'shalav love is buzzed, the melech doesn't give his eitzers, his real treasures that's really precious to him, the real dvarim ikarim that he hides in his chambers over there, in his treasures, that he doesn't give for this type of war. This type of war, if a king wants to be marchiv his kingdom, so you only give something that's worth the result. So in order to marchiv his kingdom, he's going to give out a lot of money. Let's say he'll give out, but it's only something that's going to be worth, and it's going to be, it's going to make sense to give this amount of investment. Then you have a different type of melchama. For Abbez, there's ikir in a melchama shu b'shul hanitzah, for the sake of midas hanetzach. This is Ma'adech and the Mamer from midas hanetzach sheyeh karatz namelach, not in order to be marchiv his melucha. That he should be victorious, midas hanetzach. That a person, there's a certain midah in the nefesh that there shouldn't be a menagid, the mevatel a menagid. That it should be like he wants. In the midas hanetzach, it's a different Indian. The marshal, this last year, the Mamer, just the push the zach. You have the gashmis, two people arguing. So there's that's most melchamas. Person gets into machlekes. I'm saying in b'tzad shlili. So when a person is the machlekes gets out of hand, then it's going to get in atzchonas, in midas hanetzach. It's not that there's a cheshbon. Why are you going so crazy and you're losing friends and connections and everything in order to win this war? But you can't stand that things shouldn't work out the way you want. It has to be the way you want. The fact that there's a menagid that's opposition to your ratzon, that's negate the issue and over it. Person doesn't. You shouldn't be the one losing. You should be victorious over the one that's opposing you. This Indian is again etzem nefesh. This is higher than cheshbenis. The Indian that a person should be victorious over a menagid, that he shouldn't let the menagid win over him, but he should win over the menagid. That Indian of natzchana is that's again etzem nefesh. That's midas hanetzach. And for that, there's no cheshbenis that the person is going to give away in order for him to be menatzeach, in order for him to win. He should be the one going out with the victory. He shouldn't be the one losing. That the one that's menagid him shouldn't win. He should be the one that's winning. There's no seichel tambedas. Yeah, that's the richest last year's time. I'm just saying that. It's not the hemshchad barman. So the ikina mechamesh u'shlan nisavon sheyikrat snamelach. Oh, sagt er das. I was maked. Lish l'shalav lov is boz in shatam bedas. But mele since enough time bedas, yesh v'zeh cheshbon. Kama keich esorach lashkiv al-melchame. Shev erech hashol. How much is he going to invest in the war according to the how much gain he's going to get from this war? If you're talking about a small little country that is not going to gain so much, he's not going to invest so much energy to get this country. Okay, it's based according to the Tambadas. That's the main milcham, the main where the real battle, the real war, is that the melech is negat to him that his ratzon, that his kap, he should be the menatzeach, he should be victorious and be mevatel the menagid. So Zayin the Ervil. Kimin shemeduber this ratzon shekosher etzem hamelech, he's a lamale mekol hacheshbenes lamale metambedas. This is Mamer last year in the Mamer midas hanetzach is mushish in the etzem. This tnua that a person is negat to him, that the menagid should be in his vatla and the inyanim should be like he wants, he should be the one victorious. That's negat is etzem hanefesh. Since negat is etzem hanefesh, there's no cheshbenes over there. He's going to will give away everything in order for him to win. In for him to be the winner, he'll give away everything. There's a lamale mekol hacheshbenes lamale metambedas. Why isn't it for us to know this? So they were saying here, Shulchan Idreshes Gam Aveda Mamata leads Evin Gazeh. By Yid of Irzad Aveda Nazam Yisrael. That same in Alukus Kavyochel. This is Amish Melcham is Negea Kavyochel the Etzem of Alukus. Where Alukus this Melcham is Negea. This in making a dir betachlenim is Negea and the premise of Alukus. The way the Abish is higher than Cheshbenes. So there's a Yid has to invest in the war, not according to Cheshbenes and Tambedas. You have the marshal. If the melech is only involved based on a certain reason, so then there's his soldiers that are doing the war for him. So they also have to see if it's worth it. And not every investment is worth it. Certain things you invest, and certain things you don't invest. The same way the melech itself. Why is he conquering this country? Because he wants to gain something. So it's based on a certain reason. So the whole milchama is based on a tambadas. So you have certain things that's not worth fighting on. It's not worth to fight in a little corner. Masha'inkin, if the melech is involved in this milchama, it's negat to the etzem melech to win, and the etzem melech there's no cheshbenis. The etzem because there's no cheshbenis. So a yid just fighting the war can't make cheshbenis. What's more important? What's less important? You can't say that this to be involved this menagid is not the end of the world. We don't have to deal with it. There's no cheshbenis. We're dealing with the etzem of alakus. Higher than say to the shtalshas, there's no cheshbenis there. So you can't say what's more important to win over, what's less important. There's no cheshbenis. The same way the Shir Shamalcham is in the area which is higher than cheshben. Yeah. So that's what it says here. Since this Melcham is connected to the Ras, which is connected to the Etzem HaMelech, which made this Melcham is neveah from the area which is higher than cheshbenis, higher than Tamvedas. So therefore, Yizav also in the Dresh is Gam Aveda Matali is Bevin Gazeh. Yeah. Which is Bar Le'ilsha, Aveda Tzrichli is even Shal Shtus T'Kedusha. But this, so here, from here is where it's negat to this Mamer of this year. So since we're dealing with a Melcham, which the Nitzachon of this Melcham is negat and the Etzem HaMelech, the fact that this Nitzachon, that's explained last year in the Mamer, that Midas and Netzach is Mishish and Etzem. But that's the Maskonas Advarim is that the Melcham, being Menatzeach, this Melcham is negat to the Etzem HaLukus, to the Primus HaLukus. Not mitzad cheshbenis, not mitzad hagbala. Mitzad the etzem of alakus is negat to be menatzeach this Melcham. So therefore, now what's negat to the hemshch to the. So one thing the Rebbe says, therefore, the aveda v'yid has to be in the eifin of higher than cheshbenis. And that makes a big difference. Side the tnu of aveda is not with avedas, and side the kami cheshbenis. What's more worth? What's less worth? But there is another thing. Since this Melcham, this nitzach is negat the etzem hamelech, the fire is. We give away without any limitations. The most precious, the Rebbe is saying in the Mashal, the most precious eitzers that the Melech has that were hidden in Kamadeiris. For the sake of this Melcham of Nitzachon and Shabik Ratzon HaMelech, we're mevazviz, we open them, we're mevazviz them, we give them over to the generals for the sake of the Anshe Echad. So this is in the Mashal. So you have Eitzris the Melech has there's certain treasures that are the most precious things the king has, and these were hidden. This is the whole Sheshelas HaMelucha from Deire Deiris. They have these. They're collecting these special H's, these special treasures that they're the Tayas Zachas by the Melech, the most precious thing. And these things are not there. They're not shaychas. He never shows them to anyone. They're in a whole different level. And apiseichel, these things are it's even more precious than his life in a certain way. I was going to say later. It's more precious than his. He'll never use it even for his own basic needs. If the melech is going to be starving, he's not going to use from these eitzes to buy himself his inyan, kaviyach, in the mashal. These are eitzes that you don't touch. They're the most precious things. You don't touch them. The melech has to eat. Then all the good azachma the melech darf, he's going to use other monies. He use taxes, other monies that he gets. These treasures that he uses eitzes from avesa, they're such precious things that they're not used. These are untouchable things. This is the heart of the mlucha. It's a certain diamond that came from the first one that started this dynasty of this malach. These things, they're untouchable things in the mlucha. But for the sake of when the melech gets into a milchama, was for a certain milchama that is negating his nitzachin, shebikir tzayni, which this milchama is negating his etzma nefesh, then all cheshbon is on his battle. Not only he shows these eitzes, but he's mevazvez them. Mevazvez them means that he gives them away with arhak bolus. Even when you give something precious away, so you're sensitive to what you're giving, you give a part, you're mevazvez them. There's different biyurim. Also in the Basilgani Mamer, Masachat is mevazvez them. What does it mean? Bizbus. The bizbus literally means that you make something accessible to, you make it free for anyone to take. So that's how they'll say the eitzes. Anybody can take the eitzes. Any anshe chayil, even the anoshim pshutim, anybody can take it. It's not for special people by Yidden. The eitzes are given to anyone. And the derech and the mashal, the melech is any chayil, any type of thing, any chayil, the smallest job, the smallest soldier over there, he's given the eitzes achik musim in order for him to fulfill what he has to fulfill to win this war. And the second thing is that it can be used for the glance the clinic. I mean, if one soldier, his hat is a little bit ripped and need money to repair his hat, they can use the money from these eitzes. So even a bizbus, on cheshbenis. That's dafke by azam shert nochamish is negate to the etzem. So when it comes to the etzem melech, alle cheshbenis were in this battle, and the eitzes achik muslim, which are untouchable mitzat seichel, are untouchable things. You don't touch it. For this nekuda get avek atz on cheshbenis. So this is the mashal. So this is the figure we're saying also when they get to the nimshal that there is eitzes yikarim in elikus. There's different dargis in elikus no island. In the peichas of the Eibusher gives a yid. For Yid, it says there's different dargis. There's elikus, which is Lubish and say there's different dargis in elikus. There's a darg in elikus called the Eibusher's treasures, and these are the alterach in the mashal. They're untouchable in Yonim, which you don't give. We don't show them generally. We don't give them generally. There's you have in Yonim and elikus kaviyach the primis of elikus, which are untouchable things. They're the most precious things. That no one has access to them, and they're not used for anything. In order for the milchama, for the aved of lashes, the izbar did betachleinim, which this aved is again the etzem of elikus. This nitzachim of this milchama that shabik firatzna melech is again the etzem of elikus. So for this inyan git men avek ala eitzus, the hechsta eitzus, eitzus achik musim, achik musim, get avek alts, the deepest non of elikus. And who is it given away to anyone? Any yid that's doing the aved gets it, and it could be used for any purpose, for the most simple purpose that exists. It's bizbuz eitzus. Yeah, it's nicht gepasst die. It's nicht gepasst die Sache, but let's learn this Mamer. Oh, so it says, Kadesha Dea, Ezer the Bizbus, Ezer Sinatsa Samalchama, Vishna Ratzna. In order for the to be in Sachna Malchama, that what the Melech wants, even though he doesn't, his Ratzna is not necessarily Apitamadas, it's Malam Apitamadas, but that his Ratzna should be in a Smale, will give away anything for it, because this Ratzna is connected to his Etzem. So that's what's Mavor in Sifir Aleph. So from now on in the Hemshech, it's not only a couple of prakim, but the Kemat till the end of the Hemshech, Osilagani, it speaks about the Keiches, what's this darg of Eitzer L'mayla, and what does it mean, Bizbuz Eitzris? That's what he speaks about in the whole second part of the Hemshech. The first part of the Hemshech is 20 prakim. The first 10 prakim is mainly the Tachas HaKavana, the Aveda that's Negea. From the second part of the Hemshech, from Perikir Aleph, is more, Be'ikr speaking about the Keiches that the Eibusher gives a Yid. In order to be mamala this aveda lasa with the mashal of the eitzer yakar that the melech only gives for the sake of nitzach namulcham. So that's calls like the hemshach ben kanal labash but the vayis keresh so bol the vayis keresh nesn lo mayt. That's the pashta dach the whole hemshach. Figure speaks about the common became is this inyan that in order this mashal that in order for the be menatzeh the mulcham So the Melech gives Eitzris Achi current that he has. The Melech gives to the Am. Fiedler speaks about it in a couple of places, not just in this Mamer, but there's a Mamer, a Hemshech of Pesach. I think Tavshin Tes. One of them Sheikh of Pesach. Fiedler speaks about it. But you have here in the Hemshech of Tavshin Yud the whole 10 prakim that the Fiedler Rebbe is meidich when they get to this Inyan. The Keiches was me get Mamayla in order to be Mamayla the Aved of Lashes the Yisbar Dirib Tachtoin. Mefayers, the Yipton sagt das. Mefayers bechlolishim Eitzris. Generally says they're Eitzris Tumim. They're behalten Eitzris, which a halten Eitzris means that they're such precious things that they're untouchable things, and you don't even show them to anyone. Even to his best friends, he doesn't show them. They're untouchable. They're in a safe merir zenishtam. But the kavana is dafke liftech Eisim to open them up. V'acharkach losses Eisim ala mekablim. Then the Rebbe adds, and it is written in the Mamer there, but when a sinna tiye be'efen de yitzarcha tev lonu tiftach. It should be an efen that the Eibusher, the kavana is to give these Eiches to every yid. And then an efen that it should be good, it should be useful on the yid's terms. That's the lashon yitzarcha tev lonu tiftach. What does it mean atzar? So the lashon is hatev lonu. You have yitzar, the Eibusher is good yitzar. You should give it to us. Then there's another text, the yitzarcha hatev lonu tiftach. That it should be good on our terms. That according to our hasagas, it should be useful. That's it. The Rebbe says over here, the kavana is that it should bizbuz h'eches is that that these h'eches achit chsumim, even though mitzadatzim luchor they're inyanim achit primim velokos, the deepest and highest none of velokos, the be'ein arech nivra. The kavana is not just the nivra should use them, but they should be good and useful on his terms. Tzarcha tev lanu tiftach. Hana shemekabel yargish is o tev shalei. If it's Eish Stum Shalmayla, Vinyanam Shabe'en Arech Klal, how could these ages be an Indian that a person should be able to appreciate on his terms? Well, that's the Kavanah. I didn't see in the Mamer if I don't know if this is in the Mamer Tavshin Yud. Someone through the Mamer Tavshin Yud. The end steht as a word that the Kavanah is not only that it should be given, but it should be that it should be a Sarcha Tev Lonu Tiftach. No, yeah, the whole Hamshah there. Okay. It's if you're off and Sief steht. Let me just see for a second. Let me just see for a minute. Just want to see if Mamer Pesach Tavshin Tes, yeah. Mamer Pesach and Tzidkas Prezenet Tavshin Tes. That speaks about this, the Eitzos Ikar. Last year, the main the Rebbe was basing it a lot on Tzidkas Prezenet Tavshin Tes, but it's a Mamer this V'Nacha Tavshin Tes. It's a table Lona Tiftach. Just see if it's in this.
Is that the Mamer Tzidkas Prezenet and look at the old based on?
Huh?
No.
Tzidkas Prezenet. Yeah. That's the Nach. Yeah, the Nach is. Let me just see. I don't see that it brings over here this word. The Rebbe says at the end that it should be Teiv Lon. That the Eitzah should be the Kavanah should be given in a way that it should be Teiv on the terms of the good. That's the whole word. It's just a push the word. That even though it's Eishes Knusim Amada, it's a Divis Nanam Amayla, but it should be given in a Eifin that should be mastim to the Mekabel. The Mekabel should appreciate them according to his terms. He should be a Kedi to it. Should be mastim to his mitzvahs. Yeah, that's that. Okay, good. Okay. But here the Rebbe starts this Mamshech Levayr La'achre that he said in general. That for the sake, we're dealing with a Melchama which is for the sake of Nitzach. It's not a Melchama based on Cheshbon and Tamvedas. But it's a Melchama based on that it's neget to the Melech that his Rassen should be sold. Is gefirt werden, it should be gefirt Zainei. And therefore, for this Melchama Gitter Avek, on Cheshbenes, Mamshech Levayr B'Sivit Beis HaShach L'Shnasei Lula. Hayud Beis, so Prati Advarim in Eitzel Levayr. And this part of the Hemshech Hepter and Mevar Zayin, the Prati Advarim, what is this, what's the Pchin of Eitzer L'Mayl? Achre, Akdom HaKlol, it's the Keichav Shneisum L'Mayl. Dr. Razai. So the fig, what's the lashon that starts on Perek Beis? V'hini lohavin inyan ha'itzel l'mayla. This is hipped on the feed to get up, yeah? V'hini lohavin inyan ha'itzel l'mayla. So in Pashtus, I mean, I'm not saying it's a big chiddush that the Rebbe is saying. I'm saying about Pashtus Advarim, what's the pchin of Eitzel? What's the pchin of Eitzel l'mayla? It's not a psashayla. What's this? The emes is that this Musay, there's a madrega called Eitzel l'mayla. That's not a chiddush of this Mamer, that you have in other places, there's a madrega called Eitzel l'mayla. And there's many pchinas. The musik of Eitzer, the way it speaks in the get to the Maila, is Amoretas in the get Sfira Sabina, is different allure madrigas. Here the Fikra speaks Eitzer in a very high madriga. So the Fikra started, what's this pchina of Eitzer? What is the inyan of Eitzer Maila? But the Rebbe says here that there's a kasha over here. It says like this: Mamsh Lavar Burat Ramin Eitzer Maila, Achad Gon Hadei Eitzer Maila. Hini Lahavin Eitzer Maila. Means the Rebbe is bringing this not Lahavin, but Epis da Schwierigkeit wegen that. There's a Schwierigkeit with the sin. If you were saying the regular musik of Eitzah says in other places in Kabbalah, there's a Sfir, is a Pchinan Sfiris is Einzah. Here the Refitgar brings his Maktim. What's the Pshat Eitzah L'mayla? Al derech, like you have the Eitzah L'mata. But again, to the Melech. That they have a Zelcha Eitzahs, which are such precious things, that the Melech, they're untouchable things that the king has. And the Refitgar says that even things that even the Melech's basic needs, this Eitzah is untouched. You don't touch this Eitzah. So, the Shaila is, Viken Zan Azab Pchinan L'mayla. That's what we're saying. It's a kasha. It says like this. But in the L'chura, in the move, and Ech Shaykh in the Eitzah L'mayla. Dugma Sa'etz, Shamelech in the Eitzah L'Pasach, L'Sham Shevat Tzrachav, Kim Shechasalo, Jalavet. The Yesek Sin, this we're dealing with as in the Mashal. We're dealing with Azam Esar Tzah, which the Melech doesn't want to open it, doesn't want to use it for his own personal needs. Why? Because these are very precious things. He doesn't want to waste it, Chas V'Shalom. The Yesek Kelo Gam, Kol Ma Shenesem Nixim Deire Shalifnism. It's the tire says Zachem of the Melechot. V'hu Yaker Yesem Mikol Tzarech HaMelech. This is tire from Alts. This is in the Mashal. So now we want to say Aderech that what's the pshat in the Eitzah, which is given to the Anshe Chayil in the Nimshal, also Azam Esert Inyan L'mayla. So in the movement, Ech Shayach Lemer L'mayla Sheyesh Ne'inin Shu B'china Tzarech HaMelech. There's a musig which is called Tzarech HaMelech. Dugas Lamata. Yeah, things that are the king's needs. V'afad V'kemish V'l Inyan Zeh Le'negim Ba'Eitzahs. What's the Mashal Lamata? The Mashal is, what's the Cheshivas of Eitzahs? That these are such precious things that's more precious to the king than his own needs. And for his own needs, he'll never use these things. So there's what's the madrega of Eitzah L'mayla. They have certain madregas in Yanam Elokus which are kaviyachol more tired to the Eibishter than his own needs, than his own tzrach. So what does it mean? What's the pchin of tzarchei L'mayla? And what does it mean that even though it's the Eibishter's seirech, it's tzarchei Melech, it's kaviyachol the Eibishter's need, but there's certain in Yanim that's beyond tzarchei Melech. What can be beyond tzarchei Melech? What's mean this? Eish L'mayla sheyesh ne'inin shu b'chin tzarchei Melech. V'avlekim shel inin zeh le'negam b'eitzim nishu stumim v'chesum. Elim Kekshish in Shemulchamet. So Cliff and the Tzach, these Kratzna Melech, which this we're really dealing with, Azam certain Tzach, which is connected to the Etzma Melech, is a whole different in. So Chura Eich Shayach L'mayla. She in Naili Yesem Yitzarech Melech. What's meant this? Yeah, it's Ken Zay that we're dealing with in the Mashal L'mato, Eitzah Sha'otzra Veisav Veisav. So it could be that the Eitzahs are more precious than this specific need of this king. Maybe this king, even though it's a basic need of the king, but the Eitzahs are more precious than the king. The Melucha needs to have these Eitzahs, even if this king can't function. But the Eitzahs, some Melucha are more negay than this king. How do you have the Nimshal Azam Esert thing? You have Tzarech of the Eivish Kaviyachol, and the Eitzahs of the Eivish are more precious than this. What's the meaning? So what does it mean? And Dafka, when it comes to being Leichem, to be victorious over a Menagid, that his Zatan should be Nishlam, so even these ages is Pesach's ages of Stum Shalom. What's the meaning? That's the Shayla. Yeah, the Friga doesn't touch this, it's a Shayla. It sounds like what's the Pchina? What's the Madrega? The Eitzer has to be relating to a certain Madrega. Which Madrega we're dealing with? The Rebbe is saying it's not which Madrega we're dealing with. There's a Shverikait over here. How could you attribute this musik of Eitzer, the way he was explaining till now, that it's the marshal of the Melech, with the Eitzer Kmusim, how could you attribute this in the Lamayla? How could there be any Lamayla which is Kaviyah? What does it mean, Tzarchei HaMelech Lamayla? How could there be any which is Lamayla mit Tzarchei HaMelech? It means Sazam Esert Inyan Nifla. And that for Tzarech, Nitzach HaMelchama, you give it away. That's the Shema. So, then Hefter HaMevar, Azam Mevar. Shketei Lo Havin Nitzach Lamayla, is Mamer Atikon Ezayar, Eri Nitzach Lamayla, the Kes Lamata Adin Tachlis. And the Fidik gives a whole lot of the MS says that the Eitzer is the Madrega of Lamayla Mala Adin Kes. But in order to explain what the Mala Adin Kes is, that flaw, the Ili, the Mala Adin Kes, is Makdim, what's the Pshat, the Mata Adin Tachlis? That's what he starts off here. The Elam Halt by ranking in the Binyan, or
Sure.
Yeah? Okay. Good. So this has a Binyan is it? We don't have some above here. The Elam here learn some above, or
Yeah.
huh? Not everybody. Some Bachram yes, some Bachram not. Faram Tibas learn, yeah. Where are you holding? Those that are learning it.
I never noticed there's a huge crowd.
Where are you holding?
But I think a lot of I don't know. Probably some of the Bachram did Vayolech and this. A lot of you went to a Chodesh.
You did. So no one here has just learned those Amar.
Saying we did it.
What did you do? Which
saying
one?
the summer went through them
What? Vayelech till where?
from a chodesh to.
Okay, good. So we'll see. So das so steht lo was loschen steht mit können sehr in Sof Maila den Katz und Mata den Tachlis. So steht. So start sich first on the term in Sof. Vayni beza. The hini beinin in Sof yeshne pirush. How do you attach the term in Sof? One touch is shel in Sof. That it's a light on the in Sof. So the word in Sof, the term in Sof goes on Atzmos. Ein Sof is the air of the Ein Sof. Ein Sof is going on Atzmos, and the air is the air, his revelation, his gili. But not that the air itself is Ein Sof. That's one pshat. The zweite pshat ifaran, sha'er atzmi hu Ein Sof. That the air itself, the gili, which is nimshach from the etzim, the gili is Ein Sof. Say pirush. Fire ba Mamer, das shbinin am duber kan, hakavana hi sha'er atzmi hu b'chinas Ein Sof. Speak when you get to this, to kunezer, this chazal. The air in Sof Lamala in Kesamata in Tachlis. Here, about the air in Sof, we go. It's the second shot of Ein Sof. That air in Sof means that the air guf is Ein Sof. How do you know that in this Chazal, in this Lush, in this Tikkun Ezayar, the air guf is Ein Sof? This the Rebbe says. If he doesn't touch this, but the Rebbe says here that fire by Mamer, the Shuinin Ameduber Kan in their mind, their Lush, in Tikkun Ezayar, the Kavanah is that the air Alein is Ein Sof. Even though theoretically speaking, there can be different touch in the air in Sof. There's the touch of air that the Ein Sof is going on the etzim of the air is the gili of Ein Sof. And you have a touch of the air guf is Ein Sof. In this Mamer Chazal, in this Chazal of air in Sof, this Tikkun Ezayar, the Ein Sof is attributed to the air, that the air guf is Ein Sof. Vu zet when the beginning of Meduber Kan, the pshat is the air guf is Ein Sof.
Why is that a chiddush? He says the word. The Tikkun Ezayar itself says. The those words mean Ein Sof. No,
that's what the Rebbe is saying here. Look, that's the.
Is there any
the
other way?
Is just in the middle. The Rebbe says here. Look at the end. He says, look at the end of this paragraph. Since what does it say? It says air in Sof. So the Tikkun is speaking about the air for sure. When it says that there's the Maila and Kes Lamata and Tavos, who are we dealing with? That the air is the Maila and Kes. So if the term, let's say the term itself is going on the etzim, but when it's being metayr, there is the ma'ala and the kesamata and tachlis. We didn't get the air is the ma'ala and the kesamata and tachlis. And the ma'ala and the kesamata and tachlis means tachlis Ein Sof is ein bag balas. So in this term avada, the air is Ein Sof. That's what they were saying over here. It's not so pashut. Kiven she'em she'er zo l'ma'ala kesamata and tachlis hainu she'em bag balas. The ma'ala and kes means that the air has no limits. How do you move on she'er atzmi b'chinas Ein Sof? It's interesting to Zach. I'm not the bucking of Chassidus really, but there's this idea that the pshat Ein Sof is that the air is Ein Sof. The air Ein Sof means that the air itself is Ein Sof, and not air shell Ein Sof. So you have many rayas. Chassidus speaks come to become rayas. The Mamer Vayelech, there's a Beikar, and the Mamer was just chukas in some of them. So he brings come to become rayas that when Kabbalah it says Lashon Ein Sof, it's not speaking about the etz, it's speaking about the air. That the air itself is Ein Sof. But this word that in this Tikkun Ezayar, for sure Ein Sof is going on there. I didn't see such a state as a raya ergets. One of the ichach is that the musig of Ein Sof is related to the air. So this Tikkun Ezayar, because the Tikkun Ezayar says that the air of Ein Sof is the ma'ala kesamata din tachlis. The ma'ala kesamata din tachlis means that it's anagbalis, it's blikvul. If it's lamaila ad inketz and it's lamata ad din tachlis, it means that this air has no limitations. It's everywhere. So if it's Ein Sof, so the Tikkun Ezayar is not that the air guf is Ein Sof.
Is there any other way of looking at it? Is there any other way of looking at it?
I didn't. Unless I'm saying they don't bring a market either over here. But I don't think this raya is written.
So it's a novel idea to take these.
I'm saying is b'chlav v'shteit. It could be that it happens to be that this taish ma'ala kesmata din tachlis. There's the pearl and the Mamer Vayelech. There's a shverikait on this lashon of Tikkun Ezayar. What does it mean? The ma'ala kesmata din tachlis. The maskana of Chassidus is that the ma'ala kesmata din tachlis is in b'shum agbaz, like the Rebbe says over here. It's in the tachlis ablikvul, and there doesn't mean after that it's a very high degree of blikvul, which is expressed in this term ma'ala kesmata din tachlis. Without the bir of Chassidus, the ma'ala kesmata din tachlis doesn't necessarily mean such a high Indian. Could be ma'ala kesmata din tachlis could be maybe even a lower Indian, because the B'shalan in Samavav asks the question at the beginning. The lashon is the erin of the ma'ala adin kes lamata din tachlis. So the Rebbe Rashav, the Rebbe Tachlis says in the Mamer, that initially, when you look at this Mamer Chazal, the Mashma says, you say when you get that person has on one hand very, very high keiches, very edel keiches, has seichel, and he has a person could have and he can be a very, very ruchni dik if he wants, but a person also has the keach to be yered very, very low. So Malak is it wasn't Pashto Lashon. Erin Sof is very, very high on one hand. He is very, very high. Means he's very, very edel, very mufshit, and he's also very, very low. Like a person has a keich of seichel, and the keich of edel, he also has keiches pchusim, nidrike keiches. Then it's not in of blikvol, that's in of tzir. When you say a person has many different keiches, that's ein sof, that's pshitis, that's within the world of milas and shleimus and of gvul, he has many different variety of milas. He has milas, ruchnis milas. Yes, Erin sof, the is l'mayla, he's very, very high, very exalted. Zer heich on one hand, and he's also very low.
How do you understand the Lashon in Kate?
You have a kasha in that Lashon. But I'm saying that if the Rebbe had such an option, and if the since it says Ein Sof, so I'll go in the beginning of Vayelech. I'll just read this. He says like this. This is the Mamer of Vayelech towards the beginning. This is the Kunim Erin Sof Lamala Kesam Ata Din Taklis. Chule ne move on. Eich Shayach Mailo Mata Be'erin Sof. So how did he learn at the beginning? The Rebbe attaches this at the beginning of the order here also. That what's the pshat? How do you attach the Pashas Mailo Mata? That Erin Sof is Sai very high. He's Sai Lemaila. Sai very, very high, very luchin, and Sai very low. We can't touch it. That that we were able to explain that he's. Same a person has keiches. Every other nivra is only has one type. A person has keiches ruchnim, you have keiches seichel, you have very high keiches on one hand, you have very low keiches on the other hand. But get that it itself is a ma'alan keiches, not the tachlis. But the shaila why the shveika dever ibazay then it's not ein sof, and the lashon is ein sof. You understand? So lepel gives another touch, but upon the etzem word ma'alan keiches matan you could have touched it that it means not in of hedrak balas klal. But here the Rebbe says according to the Maskana Chassidus that the Maila Kesmata and Tachlis means that he's blikvul betachlis. Like you're saying the Pashto Lashon, he's Lamaila at ein ketz and Lamata at ein tachlis. That means that he's anak bolas klal. That's not much with this touch. That's what I'm trying to make. I'm trying to make out in the beginning of Vayelech that you could have touched the words Lamaila at ein ketz that it doesn't mean ein bag bolas klal. Varayah from the way you asked the question in the beginning of the Mamer Vayelech. So that's why this Mamer Chazal is not one of the rayas that the Ein Sof is Koyaler, but the Rebbe is touching here according to the Maskana, and that's the Pashas Mashmos Halashi. That Ein Sof that's the Pashas Halashi. L'mayla ad ein ketz. He's mispashet to madreges the Mayla on akbolas. Not that he is koyel in himself Maylas neflois ad ein ketz. That he's mispashet l'mayla ad ein ketz. And the Ein is nimsa l'mata ad ein tachlis. That's the stages. And that means that the Ein is blikvul betachlis. So you could touch Malakes means that he includes within himself very high keiches and very low keiches. We're shelo that pshat. The pshat is that Ein itself gefinsach in the highest realms, l'mayla adin ketz, and he also gefinsach l'mata he's mispashet everywhere. And on ashir, style l'mayla ashir l'mata ashir. Ebazeh is so Malakes and mata means that he's on akbalas klal, b'li shum akbalas. Ebazeh, so once you say that that's for sure that Tikkun Ezer is saying the is mispashet b'li gvul. So according to this Chazal, the word in Sof is Kaya La'er, not Er Shel in Sof, that Er Guf is in Sof. The pearl, this Raya is not shtetish. The whole Shaklatari can bring Rayas that the idea of in Sof is Kaya La'er. That's a Chiddush Dal Tereb. The fact that the term in Sof is Kaya La'er, that's not a Psazach which that's Psahol Chiddush Dal Tereb, that the Er itself is in Sof. But the Rebbe brings one of the rayas that in this Chazal, this Tikkun Ezer, Avada the term itself is Goya Loyer. You heard this of us chred. Now, what the Rebbe brings here about Tam Adabar, here the Rebbe is saying not Hamadubar Khan. The Rebbe is saying in general that Chassidus is Machriya that the term itself is going on here. But the Rebbe starts off over here. I just want to say push the pshat over here. He says, Var Mamer Shvinin Hamadubar Khan. Speaking when you get to this Lashon Chazal Tikkun Ezer, here the Kavanah is that the Er alone is Ein Sof. What's the right that we never do Kan the Er is Ein Sof? That's not from the Hemshach the Rebbe says. That's from what we see at the end of the paragraph. Kiman Shem Sher Zamal and the Kes. The Charad the Er Guf is Ein Sof. What Vatam is to explain in general why the term Ein Sof is Kaya there. That's the Vatam. Yeah. Oh, so what's the general Tam? Tamadok. It says like this. So Chassidus Bechlal steht das. Tama Dover ki ba mitase inyan haloshen in sof koi rakel inyan air. The truth is, here they're quoting the lashon tikkunei zayar erin sof. So we're saying that erin sof is going on that erin itself is in sof. We'll see later why the Rebbe is adding this. But here there is adding another point, that the truth is that when it says the term Ein Sof, anywhere where it says the Torah Ein Sof in Sifrei Kabbalah, and it's Chaim, always use Lashon Ein Sof. So does Ein Sof mean the Eir or means the Etzem? Till now we're speaking about when it says Eir Ein Sof. Is the Ein Sof attributed to the Eir or the Eir is Eir Shel Ein Sof? So we're saying the Kabbalah, the Pshat is Eir Ein Sof, like it says at the end. But the Rebbe has another thing. Bechlal, when it says the Lashon Ein Sof in Sifrei Kabbalah, what's meant? We're speaking when we get to Atzos, we're speaking when we get to there. Now when it says Lashon Eir Ein Sof, when it says Lashon Ein Sof, what are we dealing with? The Etzem or the Eir? So them sagt da, that's Mavur and Chassidus, the Bamitase Inyan, Halashon Ein Sof koi rakel Inyan Eir. Ameret Ein Sof meint ben Eir, nicht Etzem. And that, he brings 3 rayas for this. Kamer rayas. He's leichel them, the whole arichas, but the only raya, it's interesting, the only raya that's left is the raya that Rebbe brings here. So Avav wants to say that maybe the musik of Ein Sof is not shayach on atzmos. The reason why when it says Lashon Ein Sof, he has 3 Ifanim why he wants to say that Lashon Ein Sof, when it's used the Lashon Kabbalah Ein Sof, it doesn't mean the Gili. It doesn't mean the, it means the Etzem. It doesn't mean the Etzem, it means the Gili. He wants to say that the Lashon Ein Sof is not shayach on Etzem. They're different, but he's teicha all of them. Huh? It's coming from huh?
Shleila, instead of saying it can't be that it's on that.
There, it's on above. But he's teicha those rayas. But what's left is that the reason to say that anytime the Lashon Ein Sof is used in Kabbalah, is because if we're speaking about the Etzem, we should have said a higher term. We should have said in the Tchila. And that's the Rebbe brings over here. There's 2 separate things. We're speaking about when it says the term Eir Ein Sof. Does it mean Eir Shel Ein Sof or it means Eir Ein Sof? That's Ein Zach. That's one term. Then there's another thing. When it says Lashon Ein Sof in Kabbalah, is it going on the Etzem or is it going on Eir? Or is it going on Gilui? So the Maskana Chassidus is when it says the term Ein Sof in Kabbalah, redet wegen Eir Ein Sof, redet wegen Ein Sof, redet wegen the Metzem, redet wegen Atzmos. What's the raya for it? The raya is the term itself. The term Eir B'chal is the Alter Rebbe's uftu. This whole term of Eir, that there's a musik of Eir. This the Alter Rebbe's a chiddush. This whole idea. It's not like you have. But what the Chassidus is smaydach bring a chachas. When the Arizal uses the lashon Ein Sof, he means the Eir, not the Etzem. So what's the raya that's left? The raya. Maybe we'll go soon. I don't know who's learning Samavav, but if you're learning Samavav, it's interesting to go through the. Well, you could see what it says over here. So it means Halashon Ein Sof kei rakel inyan Eir. The Ein Sof is always Eir. One of the rayas, actually, there is this raya here, but I think this raya is Tackle Maskana, that the Arizal uses the lashon when he says that there was a tzimtzum. So first he says Haya Eir Ein Sof Malam Makmachal, yeah, but then it says tzimtzum Ein Sof. But it could have said Shevat. Use the lashon that Ein Sof, that the Ein Sof was mitzamtzum. And the Alter Rebbe brings the Chmein, the Chassidus brings the Chagansa Arichas that the Tzimtzum was an Eir, not an Etzem. Even the Tzimtzum Lafke Pshatei. Tzimtzum wasn't a Siddiq, it was a Helam only. But even that Helam was only an Eir, not an Atzmus. Atzmus is Adra, Amar, Bezgalus. And the Arizal used the term Ein Sof. So that's a right that when the Arizal used the term Ein Sof, it means Eir, not Etzem. It's one of the Rayas. It doesn't mean this Raya here, but that's one of the Rayas that's brought. The Enter used the term Ein Sof, that's a big Eir, Nish, big Etzem.
Or the fact that Tzimtzum's not really Helen, that's Siluk. Martin Galilea, is that a different part?
No. Tzimtzum Kepshute, the general idea of Tzimtzum Kepshute, that's wasn't the parsha. We're going into totally the separate topic. But let's focus on this mind. Yeah, let's focus on this topic. Just we'll have it more. Oh, so he says, so what's the right? When you use the term Ein Sof, even if you do, we'll see why the Rabbi has to add this. I mean, if you just want to bring it that the Eir itself is Ein Sof, the Rabbi has a when we say Ein Sof, we're dealing with the Eir. What do you have to add? In general, that any time the term Ein Sof is used in Kabbalah, it's going on the Eir. We'll have to see later why that's negeh to add this point. But the Rebbe means like this. Even if you want to say that Ein Sof is going on higher levels, it means that Ein Sof means there's a certain idea of Ein Sof which you cannot attribute to Eir. It's dafke in shame, but Sof kol Sof, it's also the same musik of Eir. It's not the Etzem. Shame means there's a certain deeper musik of Ein Sof, which this deeper musik of Ein Sof you cannot attribute to the musik of Eir. You can attribute it to shame, but still the shame it's not the Etzem. That's what woman that is bringing. Now, but Derek Klal, shame and Eir is the same in you. Yeah, this is we'll see that later in the Hemshech maybe. Differences. in general, I'm saying when you, they're quoted different. I'm not all the pratim here, but if globally, a certain level of air, we use the word shame. Shema, I mean, one of the chreichim, there's a musik of air. That air is in itself. So the lashon Chazal that Ashel Nibra Eilam Hu Shmei Belvat. Before the Yibshur did anything, before anything was created, there was him and there was his name. So the Alter attached that Shmai, that's meant this is air. Shmai Hainu air. So in general, the musik of shame and air is the same meaning. If you go into pratis, so sometimes the musik of shame is meram is a very high darga in air, darga v'chelis, very high darga in air. Then there's the darga which is lower than the chelis, and that's not nichlan the musik of shame. But the shame we're meaning here is also a darga in air, but it's a darga v'chelis. If you learn the Mamer in Kimcha, so but it's learned, so that's just together. I don't have it clear who's learning Samavav and who's not. I didn't get a clear. No one here is learning Samavav? Which Mamer are you learning? Which Mamer are you learning?
We just finished Vayilach, but I'm not sure.
So good. So you'll see, and Kiimche says there clear that...
there's only like 2 verses, I think.
So Kiimche says there that we speak, there's a Hu Shmei Bavat, shame is air. And in shame is air. And that means, but shame, when you use the term shame, we want to bring out the air the way it's in a very high level, darga v'chelis. Then the term air is on a lower darga. Not the way it's in the level of v'chelis, but it's in the eifin of his parts. That's that's nicht negeda. It's the
Lusser of Basi getting your down, that would be etzema air, as opposed to special or shafa atma, that would already be.
No, because etzema air is lower than the darga v'chelis.
So you chelis before etzema.
Chelis before etzema. Yeah. There's a darga that's hu shmei hu. It's one thing. The hu and the shmei is one in. There steht in it's gehört von yes, such a it says not only this is one eifin of hu shmei belvad, that the shmei is an eifin that it's not a different nifrat from the hu. It's one thing. And there's another type hu shmei echad, that hu is shmei and shmei is hu. It's one thing. That's the darga v'chelis. So that's called shame.
And that's already considered an idea of or.
That's the shelish er b'makar achir rishon is darga v'chelis, which is one with atzmos. That's kadim kekadmusay. That's kol ba'atzmos hamar mamish.
It's not really.
Well, but that's all Mamer. They have to learn a separate image and atzmos. The whole Mamer for itself. It's kibla ba'ala aveda isha piyish. See the lashon here. There's a Mamer ki imcha and some of. So there he goes through this shame ve'er. He goes through this in. But just to hear, it's good for you to know these words. So he says. You said you learned it, yeah? Yeah, Shmai, the Ma'aseh mit Shmai. Shmai is the the way it's called ba'atzmas hamar mamish. That's what he says here. Omru, yes, Yuven said, but yes, called b'mar. Shebchinas eskala zu nikri chelis shel amar l'harim and air. Ken inin hu Shmai hu k'mei hu levad. Hu Shmai is like hu levad. We're speaking. Ein kan shum davar zulas amar. Ma shebicholti l'har. Zeh shnikar Shmai. V'lei mamish. That's Shmai v'lei mamish. K'meishu begilui. That's what I was saying before. K'meishu begilui hari nikra air. And that's the lashon of Eitzchaim b'chosif rekabala erin stuff. Nikra gam kin Shmai means usually the term er, but they could always use shame. You could also use shame. The chlolas erin stuff is Shmai is the same meaning. But ikar b'china Shmai, we're going to the pratim. What's Shmai and what's er? Ikar b'china Shmai is shechol b'moyer. Mashiach and er is when it's begilui. But they from chol er b'shem is the same meaning. Yeah. That's what they were saying over here. They were saying over here, Ein Sof is going on there. Even if there's a deeper musik of Ein Sof, just dafke shaykh by shame, they were saying shame the way shame is called, that's the way it's called ba'atzmas hamar. But they even call him gate shana, them shmei ve'er is ein. And er and shame is one in and they're Ein Sof. It's not going into the pratim. It says, L'mayla yes initial shame. That means if you're going to pratim, this diagram the other way it's called ba'atzmas hamar, that's where it's a mitzvah Ein Sof. The other way it's called ba'atzmas hamar. Okay. Yeah, we're not learning that. This lashon become a pratim shem in Yana Mecha. That's a lashon in Kudatayr. That's the Alter Rebbe's lashon. Okay, so so what's haltman? How that the lashon in sub is going. I mean, zak the term in sub. We don't speak about that. We're not speaking about atzma. We're speaking about er. What's the right? Move over Kudatayr. Pashas Kuday. Hikshar Amen. Back down b'sefer Yenis Elu and b'sefer Pelecharim and zak the dort nazay. If you're going to say that Ein Sof, the word Ein Sof, we're speaking about Atzmos, Lama Nikra Ein Sof. Why is Atzmos called Ein Sof? L'chura Yirei the Grace Ein Leitchila. Why should you call it? Because the Pashas of the Varm is saying the Pashas. Because Ein Leitchila is a higher mile than Ein Sof. Well, maybe touch this a little bit better later. We're just saying the pashtus of the. So if we want to use a term to bring out atzmos, we should have used a much better term, a higher mile, which is ein letchila, not ein sof. Where do you see that ein letchila is a higher mile than ein sof? See, touch is very pashut. The Hainu Shu Kadmin. Ein letchila means that he doesn't have a beginning. He's Kadmin. It means he always was. He has no beginning. So he's a Kadmin. Kadmin is something that doesn't have a beginning. It's a Bavada Nitzchi. In a Muslim man, Azach which never began has no end. Something which began can have an end. But something which never began is Nitzchi. So if you say Ein Sof, Bashenk in the Muslim of Ein Sof, which Ein Sof literally means he has no end, he's Nitzchi. He's saying Muslim of Zman. But so something that has no end doesn't necessarily is not a raya that it's a kadmin that it always was, that it doesn't have a beginning. You could have different Ivraim. You have Malachim, you have the Darga Malachim, or you have even Ivraim the Matan Elam Hazeh. It's Vashamayim, the sun and the moon. So they have Kayach Blikvol. They have Nitzchis. There's no end to the Kayach that they have. Person has a limit to how much he can exist. Person has a limited energy in himself. That's why a person always gets weaker and he gets tired. Mashiach, so the Shemesh, the Mashal, has unlimited energy, blikful. And it could be, it could be Kaim La'ilam Va. The Shemesh is as strong as it was when it was first created. It's the same strength and energy it has now also. No change at all. Didn't use up any energy. It means that it has unlimited, blikful Kaim. It's Nitzchi. It's Ein Sof. So we see that the fact that something's Nitzchi doesn't mean that it doesn't have a beginning. The Shemesh, of course, is created. But again, it's Nitzchi. So you see that the Tayar Ein Leitchila is a much of a higher Inyan. Ein Sof could be that he has no limits, even though. So Ein Sof could be a lower level. It's not such a great mile. Avad is a big mile. To have Ein Sof Tayar is a very big mile. People are limited, and the sun has unlimited amount of energy. He's blikvol. He's nitzchi. Mitzad atzmai, he could last anakbalas from years. No limits. He could last forever and ever. It's a mere dekamayla. Legabi nevram bolim. But Ein Letchila is even a higher mile. Because Ein Sof you could have even though you had a beginning. Mashiach and Ein Letchila, that's only which has no beginning. So Ein Letchila is higher than Ein Sof. That's the pashtus. So if we were speaking when we get to the etzem, we should have used a higher praise, not a lower praise. As I state in the Rabbi. Emes is that if you so, therefore this is machriach. Just look at that for a second. V'tireitz the masha on ukerden ein sof ein etzed aleir matam matar most of us is al chas shalom. Rak b'chinas shmei is barich. Shu b'chinas Sief she'en l'Sief. That's the Rabbi says because the Rabbi says there that we never speak that atzmos is lei dumya sihila. We don't say any terms when we get there. So what are we dealing with? This is the lashon. This is interesting lashon. It says. And so there, time who's about it. Just I just want to add one thing. Also gives a certain touch in the Indian. It's not just asking the shallow here that I'm in. It's not just that why if Ein Sof is going on the etzem. So why would they call the Eibishter Ein Sof? There's a higher mile. Ein Letchila is even a higher mile. Yeah. So that's the question. So that's not such a strong question. I mean, if someone has many miles, but you have to dafke call when you using any, you have to dafke call him the highest mile that he has. The Eibishter is Ein Sof. It's true that the Eibishter is Ein Sof. So we call him the Ein Sof. I'm saying, what's the shverikite with this?
But it ends up being a technicality from the realm of, if you look from the perspective of Letchila, and you could create things there, Ein Sof. Being Ein Sof is a technicality.
So you're saying right, but I just want to add another point to this. The truth is that Chassidus explains that the truth is that only Atzmos is Ein Sof. Nothing else can be Ein Sof. The truth is that Nevraim are Ein Sof. They're not really Ein Sof. They're technically Ein Sof. It means Ein Sof means something that has no end. It cannot stop. It can't be in this battle. The only thing that can't be in this battle is something which didn't have to be created, something which didn't have to be brought into being. Anything that was created the same way it was made, it could be in this battle. It does anything. In other words, anything which once didn't exist was brought into being. That means that be'etzem, without anything happening, it doesn't exist. The shemesh mitzad atzmi doesn't exist. The Eibishter wanted, he created it, so it has to always be. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. The Eibishter decided that it should be nitzchi.
The beginning itself is a Sief also.
Yeah, so the Eibishter decided that it should be nitzchi. So the shemesh is ain't safe. It's unlimited. Unlimited means that this thing has no end. The sun has no end. The same way it has a beginning. It means it doesn't have to be here. Why is it here? The Eibishter wanted it to be here, so it's here. So it's not. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. So why does so tomorrow? So it can't be in his battle. Ein Sof is something that it exists. You cannot. It cannot be that it shouldn't exist. It's can't understand that it should be in his battle. That's Ein Sof. This thing is unlimited. It can't be in his battle. Something which could be in his battle, but technically he lasts forever. That's not. Then this thing is not Ein Sof. The Eibusher wants it. This not that this thing is Ein Sof.
In the world that Hashem created, and it was created. The fact that it was created. Then there's what was created. It was an identity was created that is Ein Sof.
Yeah, I'm not going into what's the nature of Ein Sof. I'm trying to explain. So that's we speak when you get to the Brem. So the truth is, I'm trying to make questions. The truth is, the only true Ein Sof is only Atzmas, is only the Eibusher himself. The only true Ein Sof is the Eibusher himself, because the Eibusher himself is a Kaplen. He's a Mechuyev Metzius. He was never brought into being. So the fact that Eibusher exists is because it has to be this way. It's Kenner Zayin Ambush. The Eibusher, that's the way things are. That's the way things are Be'etzim. It doesn't have to be made. That's the way the reality is Be'etzim. Something which has to be created means that Be'etzim, there's no need for him to exist. And Be'etzim, he doesn't exist. It means that without anything happening, he doesn't exist. Under circumstances, because of a certain reason he was brought into being. So his Metzius is always dependent on the Sibba that brought him into being. The minute that Sibba is in his battle, he'll also be in his battle. So that Metzius is not Ein Sof. It's not a Metzius which doesn't have an end, which doesn't have a Gvul, which doesn't have a Sof. Only something which is Mechuyev, which Ein Leitchila, which doesn't have a beginning, that means that the fact that he exists is because there is no such a thing that it doesn't exist. That's the reality Be'etzim, as Eider Zach Be'etzim. So that reality can't be in his battle. The same way the fact that he exists is a Davar HaMochrech. He's a Mechuyev HaMetzius. He must be. It can't be otherwise. So he cannot be that it shouldn't exist. He's Ein Sof. So only Atzvos is a Mechuyev HaMetzius. Everything else, nothing had to be. Only the Eibusher had to be. And whatever he wanted, he created. So nothing besides the truth is that Ein Sof, that the only one that's Ein Sof is Atzvos. So the question is, but still the Rambam is asking, even though that the truth is, even though the truth is that the true idea of Ein Sof could only be attributed to Atzmos, but still, the Ein Sof couldn't be going on Atzmos. Because if you speak about the Ein Tchila is a higher mile. That's the brings over here. Ein Tchila is a higher mile. That's the don't bring the Lashon. The Rebbe said it. The Rebbe said that the reason why we can't say that Ein Sof is Koyel Atzmos because Ein Tchila is a higher Torah. So what? It's a higher Torah. So Ein Tchila is a higher Torah, but Ein Sof is also a nice shvach. We have to say all high Torah. But the emek of this question is like what you're saying, that when you say Ein Leitchila, is a different term. When you say the term Ein Leitchila, the whole touch of Ein Sof is a different touch. The Eibusher is Ein Sof, the Ein Sof, the way it is in Atzmos, is a different touch of Ein Sof. When he's saying the Lashon Ein Sof in Kabbalah, we're giving the Eibusher a Torah. We retired him. We're giving him the Torah of Ein Sof. That's Ein Sof as a Torah. Atzmos is Ein Sof is not Ein Sof as a Torah. It's a different type of Ein Sof. It's Ein Sof as a result of Ein Leitchila. It's a different union. So the Shaila is, if you since there was the Lashon over here, the Rameh says, what's the Rai that Ein Sof is Koyel or not Koyel Etzem? Because Allah Etz Shluchura Yiraya the Kresa Ein Leitchila. Why? Not just because it's a higher mile. Because that's the true definition. That's the true way we should relate to him. And the Ein Sof that Atzmos has is a result of Ein Leitchila. It's a different type of Ein Sof. He says there's two types of Ein Sof. There's Ein Sof which is a result of being a Kadman. It's one type of Ein Sof. Then there's the Ein Sof which even if you're not a Kadman, it could be Ein Sof. So when you say the term Ein Sof, it means you're giving the Eibusher the Torah of Ein Sof itself. You're the Tashi gets from Ein Leitchila. That type of Ein Sof is one type of Ein Sof. That Ein Sof is not the Ein Sof that Atzmos is. Atzmos Ein Sof as a result of him being Ein Leitchila. It's a different type of Ein Sof. It's the Lashon over here. Kol mishu kadmin. Bechla kadmin ubavade nitzchi. But like kol nitzchi is kadmin. Means it's not only that a kadmin has to be a nitzchi, but a nitzchi is not necessarily a kadmin. It's more than that. And a nitzchi which comes as a result of being a kadmin is one type of nitzchi. And then there is a nitzchi which is not a kadmin, that's a different type of nitzchi. So the term Ein Sof, which means that he has no end, the Torah of Ein Sof that's going on air is not going on Etzem. That's definitely some masbas. I just want to bring out this point. When you let's look at Lashon over here. It says Shesicham and Ibdol. He needs to work on Israel. Hanish Ein Lem Sed. Afish Ein Lashon Ein Leyesh. Hanish is them Chila. This b'tireit Mash on a kid Ein Sof. We don't want to give him that what's his tire, what's his in Vazbash state Zaymaila. That is Ein Sof. We don't want to say that when you get to Atzmos. Means, even though, so what's the, why can't you be tired? Why can't you say that Ein Sof is Kayal Atzmos? Because Atzmos has a higher mind. We should have called him Ein Tchila. Why shouldn't we call him Ein Tchila? Why higher the case of Ein Tchila? We decided to call him Ein Sof. But the Teretz is, it's true that the Eibush has Ein Sof, but the Eibush has Ein Sof as a result of him being Ein Tchila. That the Ein Sof of someone which doesn't have a Tchila, the Ein Sof of someone who does have a Tchila is a different type of Ein Sof. And when you say the word Ein Sof itself, Red men is wegen Atzmos. Red men wegen a Teir from Ein Sof, which is dealing with her.
Why can't we mean the mitzvahs in Ein Sof?
Yeah, but they're saying we're giving, because that's the mitzvahs in and of Ein Sof. We're using Ein Sof as a title. In Bas Bashtetz Amala that is Ein Sof. The Ein Sof of Atzmos is not a gather of Ein Sof, so it's a different Indian. I'm saying the Pasha said the Pasha the Shaila is that why should you call it Ein Tchila? Because it's a higher title. But it's not just a higher title. Is that it's a different Ein Sof. There's the Ein Sof as a result of being a Kadm. Bechlal Nitzchi, Bechlal Kadmen Nitzchi. And then there's the Nitzchi which has nothing to do with Kadm. It's two different types of Nitzchi. So I'm saying in the Mashal, in the Duga that I was speaking over here, when you get to the Nefraim, they're not really Ein Sof. They're technically Blikful. They're technically unlimited. They don't have the type. They're not really Ein Sof. Is the sun an unlimited being? Has no end? The sun mitzat its mitzias has a very same way it began, it could end. I'm saying, well, of course it has an end. L'poil, it has energy that could exist forever. L'poil mamish, they have such an energy, but that's not that the shemesh is azam zar, which has the tchuna, has the characteristic of Ein Sof. The shemesh is a mitzias which could be feidish be nifsa. So that's a very low. So that's not Ein Sof. The sun is not Ein Sof. But even if we're going to speak about something which is taka Ein Sof, something which is unlimited, that's the speaks when you get to Eir. The Eir is Ein Sof. But the Ein Sof of Eir and the Ein Sof of Atzmos is two different musagim of Ein Sof. The Ein Sof of Eir is that in Yoni is that he's Ein Sof. He's taka Ein Sof. True, it's unlimited taka there. But in them bashtet zayn meile. Zayn meile bashtet in them that he's unlimited. Bashtet in Atzmos avadi is Ein Sof. But it's a result of the fact that Ein Tchila. That's a different type of Ein Sof. Different musag of Ein Sof. There's different differences between we speak Ein Sof as someone was in Bas bashtet zayn inyan is that he's Ein Sof, or an Ein Sof which is a result of Ein Tchila. It's different musagim in Ein Sof. And the truth is that the Ein Sof, which is a Teir of Ein Sof, which is not a result of Ein Tchila, is a Agbada the Ein Sof. There's a limit. It means in Yani is that he's Ein Sof, that he's Blikful. There's a certain limit to that Ein Sof. And then Bashtei Zamayla. Bashtei when speaking to get to Atzmos, since he's Ein Tchila, means he's a Mechoyev HaMetzias, the true Musig of Ein Tchila, so he has no definition at all. It's a different type of Ein Sof also. It's a literal Ein Sof, that there's no definition clause, not Daras at all. It's not a Maila of Ein Sof. There's Ein Sof as a Maila, as a certain Inyan, of a certain quality of unlimitedness, a certain Ilui, certain Shleimas. And that's the Teir of Ein Sof. Ein Sof in Vaz Bashtet, the Maila of the Eir has the quality of being Ein Sof. And then there's the fact that Atzmos is Ein Sof, also unlimited, but that's the true definition of unlimited. Unakbalis. It's not a Maila, it's higher Inyan. And that's that way in the Tchila. So if you want to speak the idea of how, if you want to speak that aspect in Atzmos Kaviyachal, that is Ein Sof, you should use the term Ein Tchila. And Ein Tchila automatically schedule Ein Sof. And that's the true definition of Ein Sof that Atzmos says. That it's unlimited mamish. The Lashon Ein Sof itself is made on a mile of Ein Sof, where that's not a mitzvah Ein Sof. So that's not understanding. What's the adding? The Rebbe is saying that what I prove in this Sief, that the Eir itself is Ein Sof. You use the term Ein Sof. It doesn't mean that it's not an Eir Shel Ein Sof. The Eir itself is Ein Sof. So in this Mamer Chazal we have to say, because his father is like so the Ein Sof is related to there, and then there it says Bechlal. That any time you use the term Ein Sof, why? Because if you speak about Atzmos, you should use the higher term of Ein Tchila and not Ein Sof. Yeah, we'll see why the second prat is negeh over here. We'll see why the second prat is negeh. Oh, let's just see the end of it. Kiven she'er mishe'er zel l'mala mala l'kes l'mata mata l'tachas. Haina she'im be'agbolas. Hari move on she'er atzmi b'chinas Ein Sof. Yeah, so this I have to understand. What's the pshat? The Rebbe is going to ask the kasha of the hemshich, but okay, we'll see the way it's explained over here without adding other stuff. If you're learning now the hemshich of Samavav, maybe we'll go into things that are negay here, but if you're not learning it now, it's not good. We'll more focus on the way they brought it here. Good. So we'll start the Elam Halshem about a bit weiter, because this Indian is a ganz Indian. It's an Indian b'fnei but this whole parsha because it's getting to Eir and Shefa. So we'll start a Thursday, I guess. The Edom learned to learn to Mamer from Rabbi Shefa B'chlal, ever? Or the first time learning it is here?
How about Irish?
Yeah.
Which Mamer? You remember which Mamer you learned?
This is the famous one. I think is it in Atar? Where's their famous?
From the Rebbe Shaz Amar.
No.
The Schukas is the...
Yes.
You learned that Mamer. So, okay, so we'll go through it. We're not going to go through the Mamer. We'll go through the way it's here. We're not going to, if we're going to start... we'll focus on what it's here. At this point, they don't understand wegen was der in this Sief, what the Rebbe is saying here. I'm just saying, I don't know, this etzem word that in the Chazal to Zer, that's a red, itself goes on the air, that's a chiddush. And the fact that the air is inside, we're going to see behemshech, that's a chiddush davar. That's a chiddush davar. Yeah, I just wanted to add this point that it's not stam as the Pelecharim is not stam asking that why he can't say the Ein Sof is Kayal Atzos because we should have used the higher term. It's more than that. And the Ein Sof as a result of Kadmon is a deeper touch of Ein Sof. So if you want to speak about the Ma'ila Ein Sof that Atzmos has, for that also you should use the term Ein L'Tchila. Because the Ein Sof as a result of Ein L'Tchila is a higher definition of Ein Sof. Ein Sof as stam as is a certain Ma'ila of Ein Sof, which has certain limits. I mean, that's in them Bashtez Ma'ila that is Blikvol. And that's the Blikvol which has certain Agbalas. Mash'inkin, the Ein Sof, Ves Neveh, from Ein L'Tchila, the fact that the Eibusher has no, is beyond all inyan. He's beyond any idea. He's the Mitzvah Samtzis, which is beyond any term, any before anything else existed. He exists before any terms, any ideas existed. That is unlimited. He's unlimited. It can be anything. It's not. The Musik of Ma'al and Shlemas doesn't either exist. There's only him. That's a whole different inyan, and that's already a deeper. The maskana of Baram is that we speak air. The air. The maskana here is that the air itself is unlimited. It's Ein Sof. And we say the air itself, it doesn't mean like Nivraim. It means that the air has no hefsek. Not like Nivraim. That by Nivraim you say the shemesh is really something which could stop. Technically speaking, the Eibusher gave it energy that it's going to last forever. But it's not that the shemesh is zamisur. You can't say a shemesh or Ein Sof. The shemesh is a limited thing. The air but is Ein Sof taka. It's not. It's yesh l'tchila because the air has a makir. His makir is the Eibusher, and he's tali beratzna be'er. So you can't say the air has no beginning. He's a mechuyev amitzias. The air is a mechuyev. Gilui. The whole idea of gilui was invented. It's not mechuyev. But la'acher that inside the Eibusher's ratzon there should be a gilui. Look, should be enough air. Look, should be bizgalos. Should be enough air of air. The air has no limits. The air is Ein Sof. Has no agbalos. We could relate the term Ein Sof to the air. This we're going to have to explain to the Hemshech. How could you relate the term Ein Sof to the air? And that's what we're going to be explaining. If it has a tchila, so then it should be davar mugbal. What does it mean? We'll see in the Hemshech.